team has prepared a special package on Mr. Ahmed Raza. Let's listen in.
There are many stalwarts in Pakistan when it comes to being a cricket expert. Some of these stalwarts are no longer in this world, but their voices keep on echoing through our hearts and minds. One such gem was Mr. Ahmed Raza. Starting his career back in 1987 as an English cricket commentator, Mr. Zaidi was not just a passionate voice on the microphone, but also an avid writer of critical origins. He wrote for many renowned sports magazines and newspapers. Mr. Zaidi also had the honor of covering many series for Pakistan as a journalist, ranging from Australia to UK and other parts of the world. Mr. Zaidi also had the distinction of being a CSP officer for the 13th Common Audit and Commerce Group and served in various ministries and on many government positions. But his love for cricket was something that knew no boundaries. He made regular appearances on radio and television and was also an integral part of Sports Extra on PTV World. Mr. Zaidi was not just a great expert of the game, but also a gem of a human being. Mr. A.R.Zaidi passed away on 24th of April due to cardiac arrest at the age of 62. He is currently a treasure that we have lost to the sands of time, but his legacy would continue to live on for ages to come.
Yeah, Mr. A.R.Zaidi was a guest on this show for many years, and he unexpectedly died in late April because of a terrible heart attack. It's unfortunate and we'll miss him greatly. And to talk about him in further detail and his career, I've been joined by senior commentator Mr. Chishti Mujahid. Chishti Mujahid Sahab, Assalamu Alaikum.
Walaikum Assalam, Ali. I was wondering whether you thought I had gone away or I had disappeared, because I haven't heard from you for a long time now. I hope all is well, everyone's fine.
All is well, actually. In fact, I've been away for some time, for a few months, and then Corona hit. So
I thought you were locked down, as we all are. But anyway.
Yeah. So, and there was no show during the coronavirus as well. But I hope you're keeping well, Chishti Mujahid Saab.
I am keeping as well as I can under the circumstances. But yes, can't complain.
We're all trying our best here. Chishti Mujahid Saab, you spent a lot of time with Mr. A.R.Zaidi, you worked with him, and we've done some shows together right here in the studio. Tell us about your experience with Ahmed Raza.
Yes, he is absolutely marvelous personality. It was very nice to be around with him when he was either commentating or off the air or something. I didn't have too much in interaction with him because he was based in the north, that is Rawalpindi, and his hometown was Faisalabad. I am the Karachiite, but we have commentated together, particularly in Faisalabad test matches and in Rawalpindi, and then of course later on in these 2020s and 50-50 or whatever they have these days. And we have also commentated together abroad on certain occasions, in Australia, in Sharjah, in India. But I think the best thing, Mr. Zaidi was an absolutely meticulous commentator and student. He was a very keen student of the game. He knew almost everything by heart, which I didn't, and so I agreed with him. And he was also great fun to be around after the commentary stints. And I think when I went to Islamabad or Rawalpindi, because the matches are played in Rawalpindi, we had a tea in the evening or after tea meal at the Islamabad club. And whenever he came to Karachi, sometimes on cricket. I remember he was also a very senior civil servant, so he came to Karachi for official work. And so I think we spent a few evenings at the boat club and abroad in Sharjah and in Dubai. We did spend some time together. He was a very charming personality. He was very, he was a great humorist. I mean, he had jokes, and then some of the jokes I didn't understand for some reason or the other, but then I asked him to explain them to me, and he did. I think I did that on purpose because it was even better, because when you didn't understand the joke and he tried to explain it to you, it was even funnier. He was a great personality. And yes, what is it?
No, I was just going to move to Lina Moin Aziz. I'm sure she's still with us. Lina, you spent a lot of time with A.R.Zaidi, not only here on this show, but commentating with him and alongside him, and you've spoken many times about how much you learned from him and how much fun it was being around him, commentating with him especially.
Absolutely. I mean, he always thought of me as a younger sister, and he was willing to teach me. When I started about 15, 16 years ago, first time on the radio, he was the one I was commentating next to, and he was always willing to transfer his knowledge. And like Chishti Saab was saying, he always had always joked around, kept the atmosphere of the commentary box really jovial and happening, and always cracking a joke, and always, whenever I commentated with him, I felt very relaxed because, he never gave you too much advice. He let you be, and then, he had something to tell you, he would always tell you. So it's very relaxed commentating with him, and I always thought of him as an older brother. He did have this particular dry humor, which Chishti Saab was referring to also. Sometimes you wouldn't understand the joke, and then he would explain what he meant. So he was great, fun to be around, and him being gone, first of all, I just couldn't believe it. There were days and days when I was so sad, and I thought next time when I go and commentate, he wouldn't be there, and the thought of him not being there, it really kind of put me down.
Yeah, I know you spent a lot of time with him, Lina, and you always spoke about how much fun you had with him in the commentary box. Chishti Mujahid Saab, I remember he used to speak of you very, very fondly. He looked up to you as a senior commentator, and he'd always use you as an example, saying that look at the way Chishti Mujahid Saab commentates. He doesn't talk too much. He knows exactly when to speak and when not to speak. So I think, and as a commentator, I guess what Mr. Zaidi brought to the box, he brought a little something different. He brought humor, a great deal of excitement. So I guess, I know you guys didn't commentate often together, but you different types of commentators, and you would have complemented each other very well.
No, we commentated enough to know each other, and it was great fun. Now, the basic thing in commentary, remember, you're also a commentator, is that you never contradict your co-commentator, and then you never interrupt him in between. And he kept to these two things. If I made a mistake, we let it pass. If he made a mistake, I let it pass. Then he said, I made this. I said, yes, we let it pass, and then we'll make it up some other time. You don't have to keep explaining it that time. You made a mistake. If you said it's 71 for 4 rather than 71 for 3, the world doesn't fall down. So he stuck to the principles of comedy. Another thing which I want to bring in is that Mr. Zaidi was a personality we needed because of his passion for cricket commentary, his passion for broadcasting, and also his experience in the civil servant. He could have been a very good administrator in Radio Pakistan. He was particularly a very good radio commentator, remember that, rather than a TV one. And look at the sorry state of affairs of TV commentary and radio commentary these days. Look at the payments which are made to commentators, and because of the fees structure of Radio Pakistan and Pakistan Television, it's almost as if it's an auction going on. Who's the cheapest one? Let's take him. So I think we must, and I'm sorry to lose Mr. Zaidi because he was just beginning to get hold of things. He knew he was a very senior civil servant because I think he'd just retired and was either working as a consultant or something. And he was, if we had somebody like him as a consultant in Radio Pakistan and the other things, because of his knowledge of accountancy and finance and all the workings, I'm sure Radio Pakistan may have done better. It used to be a wonderful organization at one time. You're too young, but we used to send teams abroad. We used to send teams to the venues rather than this nonsensical thing of sitting in front of a television and broadcasting, running commentary and all that. But Zaidi, of course, was a pioneer in all this. He said, we must do the commentary. We must do this tournament. We should do it, whatever happens. And for that, and I mean, he was quite healthy. I mean, the last time I met him was during that, it was the PSL, was it? The Pakistan Super League, the matches in Rawalpindi. He was quite hale and hearty. In fact, Miss Moeen and he used to cart me around from and to the ground, which was very kind of both of them. And in fact, we came in Miss Moeen's huge car, and I went back with Mr. Zaidi, and I trusted him driving, although I think he was at times not concentrating. He was more concentrating on what the game had been like. I said, Zaidi, all right, but once we reach the hotel, then we'll talk all about what the game was. But he was great fun, and I was shocked out of my wits. It's absolutely.
Yeah. I think we all were. We were all shocked. He spent.
I mean, I didn't believe it when somebody rang me up in the morning. He says, you know, one of your commentary fans has expired. I said, oh, now a few names came to my mind probably, including my own. But then I said, no, I'm still around. But and then they said, it's Mr. Zaidi. I said, no, you must be wrong. Because he was only 60, I think, just about turned 60, and he was young. I'm sorry, I'm very sorry to lose him, because I've lost a friend, I've lost somebody who's been a colleague, somebody who's fun, and I always look forward to see him, and may God rest his soul in peace and give his family and those who he has left behind the courage, fortitude and strength to bear this irreparable loss, and give all of us that courage as well, because we've lost a friend and a companion.
Chishti Mujahid Saab, thank you very much for sharing your memories of former cricket commentator Mr. A.R.Zaidi, who passed away late April this year. Chishti Mujahid Saab, thank you very much for speaking to us. We've now been joined by another colleague and friend of Mr. A.R.Zaidi's, Mr. Raja Asad. Raja Asad Saab, Assalamu Alaikum.
Wa Alaikum Assalam.
Raja Asad Saab, I'm sure you were shocked, just like the rest of us, when you heard of Mr. Zaidi's passing. Your thoughts on Mr. A.R.Zaidi and the memories you shared with him?
Yes, Nawaz, to start with, it was very shocking for me because a day earlier, he sent me his picture that he's laying on bed in a hospital. And I immediately called him, but he did not respond. Then he sent me a message that he has some urinary problem and having some sort of a pneumonia. So I told him that just recover early and just go back to your home because of coronavirus. But to my all surprise and shock, next day I received a message that he is no more. So all the things I've lost, I missed him the most. He was having a friendship for over 2 decades. It was a very active friendship. Every day he called me and we talked in length. Zaidi Saab was very active. He was cricket activist. Besides commentary, he was fully involved in matters related to cricket administration and cricket writing. PTV and Radio Pakistan were his second home. He was friend of the producers and anchors, and he loved their company. I was listening to Chishti Saab. He, proudly mentioned his friendship with cricket commentators. Whenever he comes to Lahore, we had time together. And fortunately, during his last day, he was very active. He was never so active. I suggest him that beside doing all the matches in Pindi, you should also come to Lahore during the Bangladesh women team, Bangladesh men's team, and then PSL. He said to me, no, I'm not 100% fit, so I can't. But I suggested, I hard-pressed him that you should come to Lahore as well. Then he came to Lahore and he was overjoyed. I saw him sitting in the lunch area and talking and socially mingling with the sport journalists about cricket matters. He was looking, out of the world. Then he went to Multan for the PSL matches, and he was very happy.
Raja Saab, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on your friend, Mr. A.R.Zaidi. Lina Moin Aziz, I hope you're still with us. One final thought. We've said it before, that one thing that always stands out, especially with us, about Mr. A.R.Zaidi, because we know him in a cricketing capacity, is his love for the game. That's something that we'll always remember.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I learned so much from him, and like Chishti Saab said, I was actually happy to, during the whole PSL, all the matches in PSL, I was so happy to take both Chishti Saab and Zaidi Saab with me, drive them to the ground in my car. So because I got extra few minutes of their company, the half an hour extra driving up to the ground, talking to both legends. I mean, Chishti Saab and Zaidi Saab, getting extra time with them, and getting that precious time. I mean, I don't know if I can ever get that again. And during the two test matches in Pindi, the Sri Lankan test match and Bangladesh test match.
Right, Lina, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it at that. We're running out of time. Thank you very much for speaking to us and sharing your thoughts about Mr. A.R.Zaidi, who's no longer with us. Now, that's all we have time for. Keep watching Sports X from PTV World. See you next time. Bye-bye.